Ольга Павлівна, доброго дня.
Доброго дня.
Скажіть мені, будь ласка, з нами повинна бути Казьмірова чи ні,
В смысле Казмірова?
лектора нашого, як звати?
Марта Пачocka, так ви
А
ж,
її
мабуть,
немає. Поки що вона не заходить. Я до цього.
ну, ми домовлялися, що вона зайде, я
Хорошо.
буде зараз. Ні, це мої
Я
доєднуються.
поки що не запускаю.
А, ну да.
Так. Я вам дала права сухоста.
Угу.
Воно зараз.
Okay, thank you very much. So, dear participants of TechnoArt Festival International, the first international TechnoArt, and my name is Olga Demydenko. I'm head of Academic Mobility Office of Igor Sikorsky Kyiv Polytechnic Institute, and I'm pleased to welcome you here today. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker today. It's Marta Pachocka from the Department of Political Studies, Institute of International Studies of Warsaw School of Economics and Center of Migrations Research of the University of Warsaw. And we will talk today, as announced, we will talk today about the forced migration and its consequences, because it's really topical issue for now, for today, and how can we counteract the effects. And of course, we will discuss it on the basis of the case of the war in Ukraine and the role of Poland in this, because of this unprecedented support of Poland to Ukrainians, to Ukraine, and we feel it and we are grateful for it, and hope that soon we will celebrate our victory together. And so the setting is the following. So the 30 minutes approximately 30 minutes of presenting, but maybe if you have some questions, please raise your hand and or write them in chat, and we will discuss. Okay. So I hope everything is clear. So Marta, the floor is yours. We are happy you are with us. You are here, and so please.
So hello everyone. Hello guys. Thank you, Olga, for inviting me. I'm very happy to join the team of teachers and researchers supporting you young people during this TechnoArt KPI event project. I was very kindly introduced by my colleagues, so I will only add that I'm both academic teachers, also I'm working with young people like you, with students, teaching them mostly about migration studies, Europe and migration. But also I'm a researcher involved in different projects where we interact on a daily basis with different stakeholders, actors that are involved in migration management. So I'm specializing in Poland. This is, I think, very obvious, but also at this European level, so the EU level of migration and asylum policy. When in the meantime, just Olga, to remember that we have new people joining, so I hope that that all of you will be able to follow as much of this lecture as possible. There will be also the recording. So there is the presentation that I will share with you. It's a long one, but I will not use all the slides I have in this package. Rather, I would like to familiarize you with some facts. Maybe some of them are very obvious to you. So sorry for this if it will not be very innovative, but then it would be the reference point for my questions to you. So after my brief introduction to the topic, from my perspective, I would be very happy to have your voices heard, your comments on the current situation. So it's not a typical lecture, it's rather a kind of combination of lecture and workshop workshop event. So now, because we have 1 hour, I will not ask all of you to introduce yourself. But anyway, if you want to stay in touch with me after the event, you can always ask Olga to get my my private Gmail, the tool that is the easiest to stay in touch with me. So this is the presentation. I hope that you see it. So very briefly, I don't know if we can maximize it. Yeah. So this is the title we proposed. We agreed together during some interactions with Olga. So forced migration, its consequences, how to counteract the effects. And obviously, this is the case, the sad case, and very hard for all of us, of the full-scale Russian aggression in Ukraine and the role of Poland. So we have the situation of forced migration flows in our region, so Central and Eastern Europe. You know well that in 2015, European countries were mostly interested in the developments in the migration situation going on in the Mediterranean region. Then we had something that was called the migration and refugee crisis. And that time, these were mostly EU countries such as Italy or Greece affected. So this frontline Mediterranean case. And then, you know, Poland was only known for being this bad boy, I mean, enfant terrible, that didn't want to provide support to other EU member states with reception of forced migrants, asylum seekers, mostly from Middle East and North Africa. So in general, I'm also very skeptical about how Poland as the country designed and implemented its asylum policy and reception policy in recent years. Now we see that everything has changed. So unfortunately, it was because of this full-scale invasion of Russia. So I'm trying very often during different events, also for people from outside our region, from outside Central and Eastern Europe, to explain what has happened in Poland to respond to the crisis. So the consequences of the war are very obvious in terms of the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. And here, I think you know, unfortunately, more than me from the reports. So here I may learn from you, but then what I can provide you with is the very brief overview of how these, what are the consequences for Poland in terms of organizing support and using different resources. So in case of Poland, now we see a kind of open door policy for forced migrants. I do not use intentionally the word refugees, because refugees, according to the international law and EU law, are only asylum seekers that have applied for a refugee status. In case of forced migration from Ukraine, not only Ukrainian citizens, but also other third country nationals, the kind of support that is provided in legal terms, this is a kind of temporary protection. So it is applied not only in Poland, this is also applied in other EU member states. So Poland is specific for different reasons, because obviously we are the primary destination country for forced migrants from Ukraine. It can be easily explained because we have a long, very long common land border. It's more than 500, if I'm correct, 40 kilometers. So this is the longest part of our eastern border with non-EU member state. And we have 8 land border crossing points. So obviously, and also there are also many connections and links between our countries. I mean, there are many, I have, for example, many Ukrainian colleagues, students, friends involved, for example, in different NGOs providing support for migrants in Poland. So it was to some extent very natural just to open the borders, if we say, if we put this in this way, and also provide the support. Then other arguments and reasons of political nature, geopolitical nature can be put aside because it's not our focus today. So the response to the crisis in Poland was mostly organized in these very first weeks by non-governmental organizations, municipalities, but also, and this I would like to really stress, by the Ukrainian diaspora. We are very grateful to Ukrainians that live here in Poland and are very often involved in different or social and organizations and non-governmental organizations, because thanks to their support, their connections, their language capacities, we were also able to better provide different kind of support, communicate, understand some issues. Then I assume that you may know that Poland announced and approved the special law that is devoted to the Ukrainian citizens that left the country and decided to stay here. The law was approved in March 2022. The full name is given in italics in the brackets. So the main idea is just to have the law that allows us, I mean the country, very quickly provide like full-time support based on the equal access to public services for forced migrants from Ukraine, but being Ukrainian citizens and their family members. Then also what we can observe in Poland now is the increasing interest, but also involvement of international organizations in different humanitarian and reception activities. So the most important is UNHCR, so United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, that is implementing the so-called refugee response plan. So it simply means more people that are working for UN, more money that are given to different Polish and foreign, for example, non-governmental organizations organizing shelters, language courses, legal advice, cultural events, support for kids. So all of this is designed and implemented with the support of UNHCR. Then obviously we have the role of EU that is huge. So for example, the legal tool that was approved for all the member states, if they want to use it, so the temporary protection directive from 2001. And finally, obviously, we have other stakeholders, including International Organization for Migration. So in general, what is good, and I was really surprised, positively surprised, was this positive reaction, not only of the Polish society, this was obvious for me, but of the central level government to this situation, to this huge inflow of forced migrants from Ukraine. Let me move. Let me show you. I'm an economist. So some numbers just to understand the scale of the situation that we in Poland are facing. So in case of Poland, the really huge inflow took place mostly in March. So within 2-3 weeks, we received the highest number of forced migrants from Ukraine that crossed these 8 land border crossing points. So as you can see, here are the number. This is the number from late May about the border crossing points. So it's not about the people, but about the act. So how many people cross the border? But it may have happened that the same person decided to cross like 2-3 times even. So this was more than 3.6 million border crossings. Very high number. Till now, the situation changed to some extent. So now, if we look at this map, the map is taken from the official website of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. So we see that the current data indicate the number of more than 7.7 million forced migrants from Ukraine that are now registered in Europe or covered by different types of temporary protection. What is important, and this I would like to stress, and usually people do not pay attention to it, is the high number of people. The same you can see here with the map. So Poland as the main receiving country, this is obvious. Then we have Germany, so the second receiving country or destination country, but it means simply that we have the secondary movement. So for example, there are people crossing Poland and for different reasons going to other EU member states, because there, for example, they have the family members, the diaspora connections, maybe they know the language and so on and so on. But it does not mean that these people, I mean, for example, Ukrainian citizens with the families will stay there. It might be a kind of temporary shelter to stay. Then what is always surprising, and people have this question, so why Russia is in blue? So my explanation is very easy, because for me this is mostly about forced, in most cases my assumption is that this is mostly about the forced displacement that is organized by Russian authorities, by Russian army. So I will be very open to hear your voices, because maybe you know better what may be behind this high number of people that are listed as those that moved to Russia. But this is my understanding. So simply the people are forced to leave some regions of Ukraine. Poland is also very specific, and it is very important when we are discussing the issue of consequences and how to provide mid and long-term support to Ukrainian citizens, but also to Ukraine as the country, is the fact that we have the very huge number of Ukrainian citizens staying, but also in many cases living in Poland now. So these are two different sources, the estimates that were done by UNHCR, but also by my colleagues, researchers from University of Warsaw. So the assumption from May was that in Poland we may have around 3 million Ukrainian citizens, including 1.35 from the so-called pre-war stage. So simply the people that were working here, studying, being married, for example, and so on. And then around 1.5 of those that are here because of the war and are covered by the Polish form of temporary protection mechanism. So it means that this is an important percentage of the total population of our country, I mean, of Poland. And this is important. It means that the Ukrainian voices have to be heard and have to be taken into account when we are planning and implementing different activities that concern this population. This is just to let you know that there are different research activities done by Polish researchers, Polish municipalities, but also international organizations like UNHCR to better understand who are the people that are crossing the border and that decide to stay outside Ukraine. So here I'm not focusing on Ukrainians decided to return or decided to stay, but those that are moving, because very often we have Ukrainian colleagues, even my students, that are in fact living in two countries now at the same time. So sometimes they spend here in Poland providing support to Ukrainian citizens, but at the same time they have family, studies, work, and friends in Ukraine. So they are just circulating, as we call them. It just confirms that Poland is the main receiving country. Then obviously it's Moldova, Romania, Slovakia, and from other EU member states, Hungary and Bulgaria. Obviously, you remember that Moldova is the third country, so it's outside the EU. So this research, if you are interested, is available in English. Not sure, it might be also available in Ukrainian. The link is here, so after the meeting, I can share the link, this and other links with you via Olga. This is about the Polish law, so this I will skip if you allow me. But what I would like to show you is the list of challenges. So the consequence of receiving a high number of forced migrants for any country would be more or less the same. So what is the scale of this forced migration? So how many people are to be received, are to be provided a very specific support, because it's not typical support. It's not about voluntary migration. So, you know, holidays, education, research, work, family reunification. This is forced migration. So, so it's not the choice, it's the must. So also we have to keep in mind that very often these people are traumatized, and it does not matter who they are, what is their level of education, you know, what is their social position, because everyone can be traumatized during any conflict, any war. So this is also a very fragile group that should be properly addressed. And we know well that Poland received mostly female migrants, so women with kids, but also people over 60 years, because in this case, especially female, female and male migrants were allowed to leave the territory of Ukraine. So we ask ourselves, the researchers, but then also the government, the municipalities, who are the people that we have now, and how we should approach them, organize the support, how to organize housing even, because, you know, we have to think about who with whom should live together. So this is listed here. So how many people, they profile demographic and socioeconomic. Very often it matters. Now we know what is their region, oblast of origin. If this is from Western Ukraine, if this is West or this is East, what is the issue of language? Is there any risk of conflicts, tensions between the Ukrainian, let's say, citizens and families coming from different parts? We know that this was also the issue in Ukraine, but also what are the needs, the expectations, how long they want to stay, what kind of support or solution they need from the system. I mean, from the system of public services mostly. But then very often the question that was not taken into account in the first weeks, how to avoid brain drain for Ukrainian society and the economy. So the first weeks were not about how to have this balance. I mean, how to think not only about the people that are coming, but also about the country in the future and the society itself. But then obviously it has changed. So now we see, for example, the very close cooperation between Ukrainian and Polish universities and ministries of science and higher education. Not to, for example, not to have the full transfer of any interested student from Ukraine to Poland. Even myself, providing support for students at Warsaw School of Economics, I received with my colleague, with the colleague we were responsible for responding to the emails coming to the devoted mailbox. So we received different issues, questions, for example, from many Ukrainian and other students from other countries, but the students that were studying in Ukraine, okay, there is the war, we feel unsafe, or simply there is no, the classes are not provided. So how we can move to Poland? But then the situation was clarified, you know, so there are different now ways and schemes of providing support to Ukrainian teachers, researchers, PhD students, and students, like online education, cooperation. Also, this project is a good example. So it's about not taking the socioeconomic, intellectual potential of the country, but it's about providing support to this socioeconomic, if I may call you in this way, also because you are also this potential, this intellectual asset for the society, because we all believe, we are sure that the war has to finish, and then there will be the question: what is next? How to rebuild the country? What would be the role of the Ukrainian society itself, but also of other countries? So I'm sure, following the Polish media, that not only at this society level, but also this official political level, there will be support to rebuild the cities, the housing, and so on. Still, I'm just checking my time, so it's still about 9 minutes. To understand the situation, but also to plan the future actions, we conduct a lot of research. So here, these are in fact, 4 reports that were developed by the Union of Polish Metropolises in recent months. So Union of Polish Metropolises, this is not central government level, but local government level. So here we have the association of 12 biggest cities in Poland, including Warsaw, the capital city, and the heads, the presidents of the cities and the members of the local authorities. They are working together to know more about the people living in the cities. So now, obviously, Ukrainian citizens are a very important group of residents here. Some of them from the pre-war stage, some of them this new group. So let's put it in a way, temporary residents. So as you can see on the base of the title, we try to assess, so how many false migrants from Ukraine we have now, what is the support provided by people simply living in the cities, but also the more cross-sector picture. So the very last report, a new home or a temporary refuge, and even myself, I had my contribution to this publication. So the question was, okay, so what is the current situation? What are the needs of the people, but also what are their plans? And the point is that many people at different age declare we appreciate the support, how we are, let's say, hosted in different member states, including Poland, but then Ukraine is our home and we would like to return there. So this is very, very important, because in case of, for example, migration from Mediterranean, from Middle East, North Africa, very often if we would ask the same question, the feedback would be, no, we want to stay in Europe, understood in this case mostly as European EU member states, because we perceive the region as stable in political terms, well developed in socio-economic terms. Here, we know that the country is destroyed in terms of technical infrastructure. We know it because we are following. I'm following the media. Many of you are just there in the field, so you see it, and it's very difficult. So the question is what to do with this technical issues, technical infrastructure, but then also with this intellectual level, this what is more abstract. I will show you now some inspirations. So the question is how to counteract, how to contribute to the rebuild from side of Poland, but also from side of Ukrainian initiatives themselves. So around a week ago, I was in Canada, where we had the conference devoted to the situation in our region, and we had speakers online involved from the, as far as I understand, this is the foundation called MetaLab, and this is their initiative project now being implemented, Kochaty. So this is about, so maybe you are familiar with this website, this project, but I would like to inspire you by this example also to think about some ways of, contributing to the reconstruction, to this discussion, this concept of rebuild. So Kochaty is about social housing, especially to provide housing to people that simply have now no place to stay, but they do not want to leave Ukraine. So the website is obviously, as you can see on the top, available in Ukrainian as well. So I encourage you to visit the website. Another initiative that I would like to put on the table is also something I've learned from the conference in Canada. So there was the lady, she's, let's say, Canadian Lebanese, or Canadian but with Lebanese background, and she's specializing in architecture. So she's involved in the Association of Architectures, Architecture Sans Frontières, so Architectures Without Borders, like Doctors Without Borders, and they are also strongly focused on this housing issue. And since a few days, we are now trying to collect the contacts to people specializing in building, construction, architecture, design that are from Ukraine and are in Ukraine, but also in Poland, to launch this dialogue of the future projects of the activities to rebuild and reconstruct different places and spaces in Ukraine. Also, so these were the cases of two associations of national and international nature. And here also what is discussed in Poland. So this is the conference that is planned for next, just checking time, so 2 more minutes. So this is this is the conference that will be organized in early December in Poland, in Lublin. So the city that is located not far from Polish-Ukrainian border, and it will be about post-war innovative transformation of Ukraine. So I just put some print screens from the conference website, so you can see that it's not only the foundation perspective involved, very important, but then we have also this Ukrainian Talent Foundation that is based in Kyiv, a non-profit public organization that unites students, graduates, and employers. And then also we have the city hall itself of Lublin. So these are just 3 examples of how we can work together, co-design, co-create, reflect, and act, you know, just to think about the future of the country, of Ukraine, of the society now. So we can prepare a lot, even now, if the war is still ongoing, because then we have something in our hands. We have the ties that are created. We have some human, financial, and technical resources identified, and we know that they might be used. So this is very important. So I'm here far away from politics. I'm here about, you know, I'm here just to show you that you as students and we as teachers and researchers, even now, can do something and contribute together to different concepts, putting people together, thinking about institutions that may be involved, just like this. So this is from my side, and now I would like to hear, so I will close my presentation. Let me stop sharing, because maybe I will manage to see some of you, if not, no problem. So firstly, I would like to hear from you, what do you find interesting in what I said? Maybe there's something you do not approve, you cannot agree, or you would like to comment on it, but then also, what are your ideas about how our countries together, so let's put it in a way, Polish and Ukrainian dialogue, how it can be implemented, what can be done together, also by you, you know, to think about the future of the country in post-war period. So if there is someone who would like say something or write, I can read it, just let us know. You can use the option raise your hand on the bottom where the smiling face is provided. But maybe I will ask Olga also to comment. If there is no one, okay, I see someone.
We have Andrew. Yeah, we have.
Olga, you know better, maybe your colleagues, your students, so you can give them the floor.
Yeah, I think we have the question. Andrew, you raised your hand. Andrei.
Yes, yes. I actually don't have questions. You said that we can say anything we don't approve of. I can't fully agree that майже 1 million Ukrainian, which you said are like refugees in Russia, that they are refugees. You said that they were all deported or displaced, but as far as I can see, you become refugee when you do it when you flee. But when you are displaced, why you can be called like a refugee?
A good question. So I did not say that all of them. The point is that I said that this is my feeling or assumption that it might be behind the data, because this slide I skipped, but we have the information published on the website of the UNHCR, where we know how these numbers are counted. So these are the so the data that are available and shared by the UNHCR are taken mostly from official government sources and from border crossing points. So I think that this is mostly about the people that officially were registered by or Ukrainian border guard or Russian border guard. So now the question is, to what extent, what is the percentage of people that did it because really they felt in danger in Ukraine, and how many of these people were forced simply to leave for different reasons Ukraine. Also, I know about the case of people that decide voluntarily to leave Ukraine to go to Russia, but not to stay in Russia, but simply to join to some family members, because that was the part that was before the war. There were many people working abroad, not only in Poland, but also in Russia. So still there are people working there, having family members. So there are cases of people going there just to join family members, but also try maybe to leave, you know, in any way leave this part of a war and conflict zone. So I cannot be like 100% sure what is the structure in terms of legal status and the motive, you know, by this data. But this is what I think might be behind.
But also, if I may comment, just to continue discussion about this, you know, sometimes the name or title or any official titling, let's say, it also gives some status and some feeling. And if we talk about refugee means, just correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always thought that if the person has a refugee status, he or she cannot return to his motherland. He stays in the new country. For Ukrainians, a lot of Ukrainians, majority of Ukrainians, I will not give numbers. I'm not very good with numbers, but as far as I know, the majority of Ukrainians wanted to return, wanted to temporarily stay. And that was the issue of finding new title for this kind of migrants, because they are not living the country forever. We want to return and rebuild. Okay, the risky situation. Okay, something danger for some people. It's really dangerous to stay where they are, and they choose to go to Poland, to flee to Poland, or to other country, or to the western part of Ukraine. It doesn't matter. But the status of temporary status gives hope for soon return to be able to. It's for me. It's from my personal perspective. It's more about psychological also support for the with this title, with temporary, to be not. It's not for. It's not for. It's not forever. Mm-hmm. Okay, you want to
yeah, I want to just jump in, but as I'm sharing screen, it's not so easy. So just to follow up what you said, I don't know how your students are familiar with the issue of legal context, but that's true. So usually asylum seekers or people in need of protection decide to apply in the EU member states, if we have this legal context in mind. for apply for a refugee status. So in other words, for international protection. So here, for example, you have overview of what we understand of international protection, so refugee status, subsidiary protection in Poland. And that's true that there are, I don't now have the precise numbers for Poland, I may check, but there are very few Ukrainian citizens that decided while crossing, for example, a border with Poland or already in Poland to apply for this protection, because this is like, let's say, long-term relation, legal bond that is going to, that is created with the receiving country. So simply the procedure, administrative procedure may take between even 6 months and 1.5 years. So it takes time. During this time, someone who submits an asylum claim cannot have full access to labor market. So it means very low income. It means, you know, that you cannot leave the territory of Poland, and so on and so on. So it, as Olga said, the list of disadvantages, they are even explained here from the point of view of this situation, is long, and many Ukrainians did not decide to apply. That is why also the EU itself, and then Poland, because Poland, you know, is not playing, unfortunately, very close with EU, instead of implementing the EU directive, decided to launch its own national law, in fact, being a national type of this temporary protection. So here we have this law, also called special purpose law or act, advantages. In fact, people were not obliged to submit any document. So you can profit, I mean, Ukrainian citizens, based on this Polish law, can benefit from temporary protection in Poland with no official documents to be submitted. You don't have to submit any claim for temporary protection. Let's say that automatically you may have an almost equal to Polish citizen access to many public services. That is why, for sure, you know, this issue of PESEL registration, so like social security or personal identity number in the country, and also you can leave the country. So being the beneficiary of temporary protection in Poland, you are allowed to cross the border, especially external border of the EU. So you are able to get back to your home, let's say, for a few days, weeks, but then obviously there are some precise stipulations saying for how long you can be outside of Poland if you want to be the beneficiary. And this support is provided for 1.5 years, with the option to be prolonged by 3 years. So I don't know if this, this is what you wanted to know. Thank you. Do we have other questions? I will now stop sharing.
Okay. Oh, Andrei, again, Andrei.
Yes, I see that you are very aware of this situation of refugees and so on. And what's your opinion? How do you think, if the situation in Ukraine gets worse, will the whole Europe be able to contain and get more Ukrainian refugees? And yes, that's the question.
Yeah, so the question is in the opposite of what is in fact, the idea behind our lecture, because our lecture has unwritten, I would say, assumption that we hope and we believe that, let's say, this political game that is behind us will provide the situation where Ukraine will be able to be rebuilt and receive its citizens from other countries. But if you ask what might be the reaction of EU member states if the number is much higher, I would say that in case of Ukraine, the door will be open. That is why the temporary protection directive was launched. In terms of population and in demographic terms, it's not an issue, because many European, so here I'm very purely number based. So EU member states are going many of these countries are affected by the depopulation processes. So it means that the coming years will bring the huge decrease of the number of people living in the country. So anyway, many Western, especially Western European countries, also Poland, they promote this migration policy based on receiving foreigners, you know, labor market, higher education. So this is very purely socioeconomic and demographic approach. So it's not about the numbers. What comes here is the issue: to what extent our public services systems will be able to provide support, to provide even regular daily access to different services to people that are living there, nationals and non-nationals, but also to newcomers. So that's the question. We have the question. So here I don't have good question. So in legal terms, there is we have the solution. We have the directive. In terms of the openness of the government in most countries, yes, we have it. In terms of empathy, it's also there. So the people, the society, mostly social service system will be able to deal with it. How it will be financed, how it will be organized. Here, I don't know. It's also about the scale of the forced migration. But looking now at the number of border crossings between Poland and Ukraine, we see official numbers by border guard. We see that the number of people that are coming from Ukraine, for example, on a daily basis, and leaving Poland is very equal. So even now, having this increased, very strong escalation of the war in the Ukrainian territory, we see still that the numbers are not as they were in March, as you see. So there is not very high outflow from Ukraine. So this is what I can tell you. I'm not a politician, so I can tell you it's rather from research perspective how I can see it.
But it's also very interesting. It's not only political issue; it's also a scientific issue, and I'm sure that a lot of research will be conducted even afterwards, analyzing this situation, because a lot of things happen for the first time, and even this unprecedented support of one country, I'm talking right now about Poland, to the neighboring country in such situation, it's also unique, actually. I don't diminish or decrease the help of the other countries. Everyone helps us as
exactly. We are simply closer.
But this closeness, and I do hope that we will preserve these close relations. Actually, I wanted to ask you about a similar question, but from the other point. Will we preserve, this friendly relation? Will our nations be able to preserve these friendly relations afterwards? Just because, sometimes people in crisis are very become friends, and then they do their own business afterwards. So it's more, again, also the side also possible. But I do hope that we will preserve, because even this festival, even these such occasions, as we are having now, and as you mentioned in your presentations, their aim is more to unite, to bring closer, to make bridge between us. So it's more about this for me. It's I understand, I perceive it, I feel it like this.
Okay, so if you want, I can comment briefly on it. Yeah, so once again, this is, I cannot I cannot express on behalf of the whole society, but my understanding, observing how it is, if there are tensions. So one of my questions on this list of challenges is about to what extent we may face tensions, intergroup tensions. Obviously, we may face, because this is always about the resources that are at disposal of the given society, like labor market and so on. But in case of what we see now, also the results of the public attitudes research, I would say it's not so bad. I would say it's rather positive. So this is a huge understanding of the situation, that it's very complex, and for sure there are groups, or there are, let's say, milieu. I don't know how to say this in the best way. Let's say that there are for sure professional groups or environments where this close cooperation will be implemented. The good case is higher education and science. Here, I think that for sure the ties now are so strong. Even the dialogue going on at this very official level, high level, between ministries is a good example. The devoted research programs, like the transparency in the information of how we receive, for example, students, how to organize or not organize transfer.
Okay, I'm sure that students have that our participants also have questions. I know that Natalia had, but I don't see right now her in the chat. Maybe something wrong with internet. Nazar, are you here? Maybe something again. Today is a bit difficult day from the point of view of the energy and electricity, and sometimes we have this problem. And again,
May I?
lot of psychological support, programs, and for migrants, and each country organized something which is something to help, some events, some trends, some things. How do you think? But again, the refugees are the representatives of some country, and there is different refugees, migrants, uchodzi, as Ukrainian, as this status, as far as I remember, is called in Poland. They are different, and it's first of all for people who flee country, who flee to another country. It's culture shock. Again, they feel a lot of differences in culture, differences in lifestyle, communicative behavioral patterns, differences in behavior, and they face these challenges every day. For them, it's difficult, but also for the people who receive them, it's also difficult, because it's the interaction of of two identities, of two cultures, of two worldviews, and even more than two sometimes. How do you think, is it possible actually to create some kind, I don't know, recommendations for psychologists? Because, and again, do we need to organize some kind of psychological support, and how it is better organized? Maybe you know from your experience how it works in Poland, because as far as I know, it's different approaches, and everyone does what he or she can, and in some cities it is more or less well organized. Some cities don't pay attention to this, and just to ask, do in Rome like Romans do, or etc. How to deal with this psychological problem? Because it's a problem in case of one or two people, it's not a problem, but in case of one or two or 3 millions, it's a bit different level of problem. So how do you think, what is necessary in this case from the intercultural perspective? Because we are coming closer to each other, and then we have this problem of challenge. No, I will not say problem, challenge, to understand each other from this perspective.
So very briefly, because I'm not specializing in this micro level support in psychological field, but what I know that now it's after such a long time, there is a well-developed psychological support provided to Ukrainian citizens So firstly, it was also about who should provide this support, because not all the we can understand each other in Polish and Ukrainian more or less, but it's not enough if you should provide a professional psychological consultational support to someone that is traumatized or with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because this, we should have in mind that this might be a very huge group. I'm not sure if we have like very full statistics, Ukrainian statistics or Polish statistics about it, but we have well-developed psychological services that are provided by also by Ukrainian psychologists being now based in Poland, and this support was provided in person, online, organized by at the very beginning by non-governmental organizations acting especially in big cities, but also in reception centers. Then we have obviously many kids now enrolled in schools. So I don't know how it is formalized finally, because I do not follow these regulations, but I know that there was also the issue of having, let's say, psychologists with Ukrainian language and the knowledge about Ukrainian society in especially primary schools, to be at the disposal of kids and their parents. What I think should be done, maybe it's already done, a kind of common workshops, just to, because when we provide this psychological support here and now, just after the arrival in the very first weeks, this is something else.
It's
But
crisis management. It's more about
Exactly.
crisis state.
Yeah, but I'm not an expert in psychology, so I don't know how these phases are divided. But then, if we are going to have anyway strong links between our countries and societies, because I'm sure that there will be kind of strong circular migration, many Polish-Ukrainian families, we should have a kind of, like, let's say, special task force of psychologists from both countries that can launch this kind of dialogue, I don't know, organize a kind of symposium, maybe develop, you said recommendation, but maybe the handbook in, both languages, plus also in English and maybe also in Russian, because there are still people using Russian, on a daily basis, and having this tool, a kind of open, free of charge, online and on-site trainings. So this should be also organized in a more, structured way. Not too very formal, but so start the research, the cooperation activities also at this level of specialists, because also it's important to have this kind of support for people, for every Pole and every Ukrainian. It's not about this well-organized, dedicated crisis-based programs for only those that declare we have this PTSD syndrome. Yeah, so I think that I will stop here, because I'm not an expert in the field, so I cannot tell you more.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we don't. Oh, Oля has a question.
May I ask? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah. Let's take the last question. Hi.
Okay, hi. Don't you think that after some time, like if the war lasts for several years or more, that Poland will get tired of helping the Ukrainian people and doing all of these post-war projects, making like researches and providing all of this support? Will like this energy disappear over like a big period of time, or there is no reason for worrying?
Okay, so firstly, I want to be optimistic, and this is my experience. So firstly, Polish people do not perceive this my impression. So this is another type, unfortunately, for some reasons, of forced migration. So these ties, Polish-Ukrainian ties, were strong before the war. So the perception of the Polish society of Ukrainian citizens is a bit different than it would be in the case of, for example, forced migrants from Middle East and North Africa. So this is also, I'm openly saying during different conferences, this is positive discrimination. So this is good from the point of view of Ukrainian citizens, that we have this openness. But if we look, for example, how Poland behaved, also the society in 2015, and what is going on even now on this Polish-Belarusian border, this is another story. But I did not put this part in my presentation because it's not the point. Today we were discussing mostly the case of the Polish-Ukrainian relations. So I think that anyway we are positive towards, let's say, Eastern Partnership nations. So Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova. I mean here the people, the society, not the political level. Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, so the countries of Eastern Partnership. Here, this intergroup relations between nations also are rather good. But then also what you said, this is a short-term, mid-term fatigue. The fatigue is, now we are still in the face of this fatigue. So yes, now there are fewer families that are so eager to live with, for example, Ukrainian colleagues. But also there are other forms of providing housing support. So anyway, finally, the state, the municipalities, they take over some responsibilities from the society shoulders. So it's being, we are trying to create a stable system of support, but it's not humanitarian phase anymore, at least for now, because, you know, the law is here. The people are enrolled to, I mean, kids to schools. People have an access to the labor market. Healthcare system works as it works, but it works. So I think that also that the fact that the Ukrainian citizens do not apply so often for international protection, but have an access to public services, make it much easier for the society and for the economy to absorb them. Simply, they working, they studying, they have kids in schools, so they are not as privileged group as some people may think. They are just coming this part of the society, if I can put it in this way. So this is the integration that is coming simply, not the reception phase anymore. So it's good for, I mean, this is good from one side, obviously for us, because it means not so many tensions. It's not so good for the Ukrainian society itself if we think about post-war period, because if people are well received and integrated into different structures like labor market, schools, marriages, then it means that they will not be so eager to leave the country. So the longer they are here, the higher is the risk they will not return like for 100%, or it will be this circular migration, so living between two countries.
Again, some of these stages, if to return to my topic of culture shock, yeah, I dealt with, so we have several stages, and
you know it better.
This honeymoon stage, there is after 2 stages, we have the stage of either adoption or rejection, and this is even time restricted. So people will eventually pass through, all migrants eventually pass through these stages, and it depends on the person and of course on this positive attitude or negative attitude on the environment, on circumstances, on people who are around this person, and this for this reason it's this also all these factors contributes to the final decision where to stay or to return. It's not only about patriotic, it's also about just human factors, because there creates some maybe links, new relations, etc. But it's a human being. But again, we hope that this dark time of war will end as soon as possible, and those who and all people and majority of people return, and that we are happy. I wanted to thank you for this position that about the brain drain, that because it's really you know, sometimes it is interpreted that we will help you, okay, we will take something just to take something forever just to preserve it. But it's not about the case in this case. And we are really grateful to Poland for understanding of the situation, that it is temporary, and that the country doesn't support such a brain drain that could occur. And we have another question, Polina, maybe. Thank you, if possible, Marta.
Yeah, I have still 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah.
So okay, so I just wanted to to express my quick opinion about your question, like if we will be able to save this, like our close relationship, so to say. I just wanted to say that as a person who had such an opportunity to visit Poland, like for 2 months, and we visited our distant family, and so what I wanted to say that they were ready to give us a hand. So we got to know a lot of people, and we realized that we had a lot of things in common. And what I wanted to say that maybe our close relationships, they don't start with ministers or presidents, and our close relationships, they are not based on this, like exactly like a higher society or something, but just on common people, on our close relationships. So I guess it's first of all about just common people. So I hope that it will be possible, and we will develop our
Paulina, so I fully agree with what you say. This is, we had no time, but even looking who reacted in the first weeks, who just provided any kind of support, these were everyday people. So we call them like so NGOs, civil society organizations, but also ordinary people, including different foreigners living in Poland, because Ukrainian citizens, obviously, but honestly, there were also Belarusian and Russians, because of language capacities, that were living here since many years, also as, for example, forced migrants, I mean refugees, that were providing support, but it was not so widely promoted, just the general concept of social solidarity. So this is, I can fully confirm. Thank you for the voice.
Thank you. And Anya, just few words and very brief question if you have, because
yes, okay, so I'm just interested about your opinion of NATO. Do you think that, because as we know, a Russian missile has recently landed in Poland territory, but do you think that NATO will wake up and offer
I
some...
will not go, Anya, sorry, but
help?
I'm not expert in this high-level politics. I'm a migration expert, so I do not want to express, I don't know, simply. I'm not specializing in NATO. I'm just like other people observing media yesterday evening, and I cannot express here any professional, any personal good opinion. So I cannot tell you. I'm just like many people, I think, observing this high-level political game, how it will be solved, what will be done, what are the steps. But as also I'm saying since many months, Poland is so open at the central level government to Ukraine as the state. Now it's not now about migration, support, and people, because also this risk of war is here. I mean, it's not only the risk regarding Ukraine, where the war is already since 2014. In fact, this is also the risk we have in mind in these post-Eastern Bloc countries. So Poland and 3 Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. So it's nothing new. So here I can say, yes, we have this in mind. I'm sure that this is in mind of many politicians from top-level ministries. And what are the, what is officially communicated and what are the agreements behind this, we don't know. For example, yesterday till late night, we were not sure. I was following Polish media on NetPL. There were no updates. So what has happened?
Everyone is waiting. Sorry to come. We are waiting, and we don't know. So nobody knows.
I don't know. I'm not an expert in NATO. I'm not expert in military topics. I'm working with human beings, with people, and let's say meso level, micro level stakeholders. So this is it. So I think I will stop here because I have to leave. So thank you.
Marta, thank you very much for your time, for your efforts, for the possibility to discuss all these topics. I'm sure that we will continue our acquaintance further, and
I'm at your disposal.
yeah, and thank you for sharing with us your ideas, and thank you. I'm sure that for the participants who will rebuild, who will have the ideas to and who will implement the ideas how to rebuild Ukraine, this understanding of these processes of migration is also very, very important, and it's important for us. And thank you for your support. Thank you for standing with us.
Thank you. Thank you for contacting me. I think that this is the example how we can just launch a kind of cooperation. Yeah, this is it, and the message should go widely. Thank you, Paulina, for your
welcome you. Welcome you again, but under the peaceful sky of Ukraine to offline
a pleasure.
Event to offline Techno Art International at our campus. So
with a pleasure. I only know Chernivtsi campus where I was once for the conference, so with a pleasure.
Yeah, we call it Ukrainian Hogwarts, so we will have a lot of possibilities to discuss and a lot of nice places to visit. Thank you very much. Thank you all. So for this, at this point, we stop, and thank you for the participation, and we go on, we continue, and keep safe, and
thank
have
you.
good luck. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.